Welcome into the Bobcast here. Matt Ambrose starting things off with women's soccer this week, and I'm joined by head coach Brian Parker. Coach, you're getting ready for the MEC tournament this coming week. You earned the 2 seed in the conference after a 2-0 win at Alderson Broaddus on Friday night, hosting a semifinal game Thursday night against the winner of the Notre Dame, West Virginia Wesleyan game that is taking place Monday night at the time of recording. Don't know who won yet. It's Monday morning, but
Right.
maybe when this comes out, you'll know an opponent. But for the time right now, either the Falcons or the Wesleyan Bobcats will be coming to town Thursday night. But just how pleasing was it to earn that result on Friday and get this bye to the semifinal round and be able to host the tournament game?
Well, it feels great. It's where we want to be. It's certainly a goal we have in our setup. Our seasonal goals are to obviously get in the tournament first, and then earn a high enough seed to host games, and then obviously prevail. And it's funny when we were watching results, and there was a little quirky tiebreaker that might have got Charleston that top seed. And then you never know if you get a chance to host a final. That's obviously special, but to get that semi on Thursday and have an ability to at least host one game. We had a feeling we were going to get the third seed. I think we had already proven that before Friday, but so we know we were going to play at home. But this allows us to stay in our weekly cycle and have a late week game and have the rest we want for the weekend. So really happy about how it turned out.
Also, you get that kind of preparedness with having to play potentially 2 games this week, a couple days apart, with the semifinal being on Thursday and then having to play the final over the weekend. And you did that this past week. Davis and Elkins at home on Wednesday before you went to AB on Friday. Let's talk about the AB game first. Much like the first matchup between you and the Battlers, lots of shots for you guys. 31-8, you outshot them. You put 12 on target. What changed this time around as opposed to last time when you ended up in a 1-1 draw?
Not a whole lot, not very much. They actually are a bit better. First of all, they were much better organized. They had a few more athletes available to them. They did not quite play as defensive a scheme as they did the first time. I think it was their first game of the year when we played them the first time.
Yes,
so
I
think
believe so.
they were just kind of hanging on there and had a little bit more of a defensive plan. And I credit to them for doing that. I think they kind of came out and played and matched up with us, and they have athletes and they're physically tough and they were certainly stubborn. They hit the post on a free kick and so certainly had some half chances. So it was a good test. It was being able to travel and play some of these locations is always a bit of a challenge, but I think we responded pretty well. And Lexi Pate had a pretty good day, but we have a nice mix of players up front, and Tony's having a huge impact up there too, and is super creative. So it's just nice that we were able to cash in and score. We really only scored one more than last time, but obviously got the shutout, and so it was a really good team effort. Got to play a lot of players. It felt very good.
You name dropped the 2 players I want to talk about. We'll get to Tony in a minute. I want to talk about Lexi and her 2 goals that she scored. And I think one of the main differences between last time you played AB here in Frostburg and this time was AB had that early goal that I think kind of jump-started them. It was the reverse this time. Lexi Pate scoring that goal right in the 3rd minute. How did that kind of help set the tone for you guys the rest of the night?
Well, it's you could use a lot of cliches for breaking the ice or taking the pressure off, so to speak. But it was obviously a relief to know that sometimes you're just realizing at the start of the game what kind of mood are we in.
Right.
What's the energy like? What's our ambition like up front? Who is in a particularly good place in terms of just having good energy and quality? And so Pate was one of those players. Could have scored more. We had a couple. We probably had 3 or 4 chances that we just hit right at the keeper, and a couple others that she came up big on and saved. So it's just nice to see Pate cash in and take advantage of a pretty good early opportunity. It's just sort of bearing fruit. All of our hard work, and we're trying to grow this team, and it's just nice to finally essentially do what we're planning to do and do it early enough in the game to, like I said, take a little bit of the pressure off.
Tony Fiacco Miser had the helper on Pate's 2nd goal, and this was coming off a game against Davis and Elkins in which she had a goal and 2 assists in that one as well. She looks like she's starting to hit her stride at the right time. She's been solid all season, but now we're seeing her kind of put some numbers up on the stat sheet a little more with these assists and these goals she's had the last couple of matches.
So Wednesday, she was the player that was in a really good mood, and she had tons of energy and quality. We're not doing anything super creative with her. We're kind of playing her a little bit in midfield sometimes because we basically need some minutes out of her and Audra in midfield. But she just runs so smartly. She knows how to run in the channels, run in other channels, and kind of create spaces to find her. When she has the ball, she's really crafty. I mean, there's certain players, I think, in soccer that you watch. Obviously, the most famous ones, Messi is the example everyone uses. You just tell they're having fun with the ball.
Right.
They just love having the ball at their feet. They love being creative, creating for other players, creating for themselves, and that was evident Wednesday night. She just really had a fun game and really enjoyed her time. A little bit tougher physical matchup for her. For some reason, she had a little bit more of a stubborn, defender matched up with her. Wasn't running as cleanly on Friday, but spoon fed this really nice little backheel through ball in for Pate that Pate just ran onto and hit. It was a nice creative moment for her. But she's going to have those spells where she's going to be a handful for anyone that's trying to defend her.
You think her dyeing the hair helped her play as well? Because she showed up on Wednesday night looking a little different with the.
There's little mishaps occurring here and there in the dorms, I think, and I'm not sure if that was her intention, but she's in disguise a little bit Wednesday. But again, good for her. I'm glad they're making use of their free time.
I want to look quickly at the Davis and Elkins game because that was a 4-1 final, but. In terms of, I wish we had the possession numbers from that game because it didn't look like really either team controlled possession. Like it wasn't really swayed towards one side or the other. The result may show that may have been otherwise, but it really wasn't that. It was when you guys had the ball in your possession, you were creating a lot of chances in that one.
Yeah, so I like, I've been complimentary of Declan all year, and I like the job he's doing at D&E. They probably did outpossess us for the game. I would be surprised if they did not. They should have. He's trying to really put the ball down and play and be more of a possession-oriented team. They obviously have those special midfield players that are super creative, and one of them scored. I think it's the same player in each game. I think. So I respect him for that. He, obviously he doesn't probably feel like he's got all the ingredients he needs to quite play the way he wants to play. So there's a bit of a cost benefit to that, you know. And so we certainly pressured them and got in behind them a few times, and they gave us room to be a little bit more of a counterattacking team. And we've got pace and athletes, and so we're quite happy with that. We got in behind them a few times. Obviously, Tony was the primary sort of award winner, or I guess the recipient of that space they gave us in behind, and we got her in, and she's scored and had a couple great chances, hit the post. So again, I compliment him for doing that, but again, there's a lot of risk reward involved in that for coaches. The opposite of what we just described AB doing in our first game is kind of what D&E did, and played a higher back line and kind of tried to press us and come out. And honestly, AB was a little bit more like that Friday. So, kudos to them for just going after it and letting their athletes really play.
You became, as you said earlier, you clinched the number 2 seed, but you've known for a couple weeks now that you were going to be the MEC, officially in the MEC tournament. You became the second team at Frostburg to clinch an MEC tournament, missing acrobatics and tumbling by just a couple of days when they got in. But your team, it's a team that's been ranked in the U.S. Soccer Coaches Poll earlier this season. And in terms of record and winning percentage, if you want to look at those, best team that's been here in a decade. So where does the confidence level lie with this team heading into such a big week?
Well, of course we feel great about it. Everything has. Nothing ever happens according to plan, right? But of course, we're in the position that we would like to have been in. Year 2 of the transition. We have a terrific young team, of course, like all of our teams are sort of building from the ground up in a scholarship environment. And so we're sort of seeing some of that, bear fruit. I mean, we've got great young players. I think Bilger is a great example of that in the goal. The midfield players have been terrific. Obviously, Tony was a little bit of a surprise as a transfer, but has been a high impact player. So we have a nice mix. I think we have a nice mix. I think the culture of the team is good. We've got good, internal leaders. I think, the mix of players we have in terms of age and experience has worked out quite well for us. So we're just happy to be where we are. I mean, I don't want to say like on schedule, I guess is one way of looking at it. I mean, I still believe Concord is the best team in the MEC, and it's gonna really be a difficult game if we get the opportunity to play them. I think that would be a stretch for us to probably win it. But they're right now they're setting the standard, and we that was obvious to us in the first year. That's where we need to be, and so I think we're on schedule and feel pretty good about our progress.
So Thursday night will be the matchup at Bobcat Stadium. Either Notre Dame or West Virginia Wesleyan will be in town. You played Wesleyan twice, Notre Dame once. All three of those matches were 1-0 finals in your favor. What goes into kind of the build-up? Obviously, you got to kind of wait and see who the opponent's going to be. But then, obviously, you have that experience in playing each of those teams this year to kind of help you prepare for Thursday night.
Yeah, so it's kind of a blessing in disguise in a way. I mean, I would have kind of liked it if it had worked out the other way randomly, and we maybe played a Fairmont or somebody who we haven't seen before. Charleston obviously is good, but the benefit, of course, is that we have seen these teams. There's obviously COVID, year is unusual, and I don't know that they necessarily will have lineup things that might surprise us, but it should be somewhat familiar. Both teams are athletic. Both teams try and play. I don't know. I think Notre Dame probably has a few more weapons and probably presented us with a few more matchup issues maybe than Wesleyan did. But certainly Wesleyan had chances in that second game for sure and has a couple of really outstanding athletes. So neither of them are scoring a ton of goals. They've kind of had the issue we've had, and scoring has been a little tough to come by, at least in our particular division in the MEC. I mean, I know some of the other schools have cashed in a bit on the other side, but it'll be an interesting matchup. I don't expect it to be a 4-3 shootout. I don't think that's likely to happen. But you never know. I would have never expected us to put 4 in against D&E after the first game. But we were pretty happy with the output we've gotten from our players this week. So it feels pretty good. Should be obviously a super good competitive game, and our preparation should not be too unusual.
Well, Coach, really excited to see this semifinal game on Thursday night, whoever it may be against. Best of luck to you as you head into tournament time.
I appreciate it. We want to play important games, right here in our stadium. So we're happy to do that, and really hope we get a good turnout with friends and family. Everyone's welcome on Thursday.
Absolutely. Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Up next here on the Bobcast, we're talking Frostburg State football with head coach DeLane Fitzgerald. Coach making the trip all the way down to Pembroke, North Carolina. Bit of a hike to get down to Pembroke for you guys and myself making the trip for radio. 40-28 win for you guys down at Pembroke. You finish your spring season at 3-1 on the season. A very back and forth game throughout the middle part in the second and third quarters. Just want your thoughts on how your team performed on Saturday.
You brought it up, the trip, not an easy trip.
Not at all.
Not 9 hours each way on a bus, never fun. So even if you enjoy one or two of the movies that are playing, it's still 9 hours, long time. The young men did a nice job of handling it like a business trip, and going down, and the walkthrough was professional on Friday night, and then everybody making curfew and handling their business the right way in the hotel. I knew we were going to play well on Saturday by the focus and intensity that our kids had and the maturity level that they showed during the trip. Got up on Saturday and got our pregame meal and got over to the stadium, and then the sun came out.
Yep.
So not only are we dealing with making that road trip, we hadn't seen 70-some degrees and humidity in Frostburg yet this year, but we saw it on Saturday, and the guys did a really, really good job. Our stick-to-itiveness is better than everybody we play, and there are Saturdays that teams have more talent than us, and teams have this and teams have that. Pembroke has phenomenal facilities, speaking of things that people have that we don't have, but great place to play a game, great environment. But our kids just stick with it, and they have a dogged perseverance about them, and we persevered through the 3-hour football game.
turning point in that game came on special teams. That third quarter, you're down by a point, a 4th and 1 in Pembroke's territory, and you kind of dip into the bag of tricks a bit. You snap it to the up back, Seth Fitzgerald. He runs for 17 yards to move the chains. Next play, Isaiah Horn goes untouched 30 yards for a touchdown. And then the next drive, you force a Pembroke punt that Malik Morris blocks and scoops up for a touchdown. How important is it for two of the biggest plays, in my opinion, the two biggest plays of the game, both to come on special teams?
Yeah, Matt, you understand football. It's not an opinion. You're right. They had scored 2 or 3 straight drives on us, and they had scored 3 straight drives, and we knew if we punted the football back to them, they might score a 4th straight drive, which is going to be hard for us to overcome. We've been working on that play since the second week in February, and we run it the second week in April. So we've been working on that play for 2 months. And Seth, who is a Buffalo Gap, Virginia native, close to my hometown, same last name, same area. But he is a good football player. His offense in high school ran that play. So he's taken that direct snap out of the single wing at Buffalo Gap a million times in his life, and we knew he could do that, knew he would be able to read it and be able to get us the first down in that situation. So anyway, just got lucky, made the right play call at the right time. It was huge in momentum because it took all the momentum back from them. Isaiah Horn scores on the next play, which was a big run, good run by him, great blocking up front by our offensive line. Matt, you and I would have had a shot to score on that. We probably got run down from
no
behind.
one came anywhere close to him there.
No, it's one of them where it's real fun to play tailback, but he scores on a 30-yard jaunt, and then they get the ball back, go 3 and out. When we went pump block, when we called laser, which is one of our pump block calls, we called laser. When Malik Morris went by me, he said, "I got this." So, and then as it turns out on film, him and Akaya and Loney had an opportunity to block the punt, but Malik blocked the punt. Both of them may have gotten a hand on it, but Malik blocked the punt, and then he scooped and scored in the end zone. Huge, by far the biggest stretch of that ball game, the 2 biggest plays.
Graham Walker getting his first start, playing all but 1 snap in that game. 8 for 17 passing, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns. Most of that came in the first half, but still he looked to be pretty calm and collected throughout the game. And you split time with the quarterbacks, him and Chad Palmer, through the first 3 games. Graham has been getting some more snaps the last couple of games against Notre Dame and Alderson Broaddus. What went into the decision to allow Graham to play as much as he did?
The way they practice, as practice went on this spring, and I said this to you a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, Matt, until somebody separated, they were going to play equal snaps, and then as it went in practice, Graham's just a little more consistent. For a freshman, for a first-year player, freshman, going to be a very, very good football player. The moment's not too big for him. So he's a competitor. He understands football. He makes good plays. Does he have things to fix? Yeah. We've got to get him more balanced in the pocket when he's throwing the football, and he's got to learn to throw the football on time. He's got to get faster with his reads. He'll lock onto one receiver and stay there too long. But as he speeds up his progression in the game, and the game slows down for him, going to be a good football player going forward. The future's bright.
As you mentioned, of course, talking about that with that fake punt, UNC Pembroke's offense started to gain some momentum after a slow first quarter. Josh Jones, their quarterback, you talked about him last week, very good at extending plays. Maybe not the mobile attribute you would give to him, but he did a good job at escaping the pocket, extending plays. UNCP got their offense going, scored with less than 2 minutes to take the lead. You're sending your offense back out there. And I remember last week against AB in a sort of similar situation, though the score was different. You got the ball back with a little over 2 minutes left. Graham Walker led a field goal drive to end that first half. On Saturday, a minute and a half left, 54 seconds, you go 75 yards and score a touchdown. What's the message to the offense? They're going out there, a couple timeouts in their back pocket, and having to go the length of the field to try and retake the lead. What are you telling the offense as they head back out there for that drive?
Yeah, us running the 2-minute drill against Alderson Broaddus, even though we were up 30 points when we did it, it carried over into this week against Pembroke. Anytime you get a chance to practice that drill, you have to practice it, and we do it once or twice a week in practice, and then we got to do it against Alderson Broaddus, and we were successful with a field goal. Well, this week we're down. We're losing. We are down. I want to make sure I'm right here. We're down 14-13 with 1:30 on the clock. We get the football back, and our offense goes boom, 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 5 or 6 play drive for a touchdown. And instead of going into halftime down 14-13, we go in up 20-13.
And what was also important, because the Braves were getting that second half kickoff too, so not only would you have been down a point, but UNCP could have doubled up with that third quarter possession as well.
Absolutely, and they end up scoring on the first
Yep.
drive of the second half. Yeah, just huge for momentum. Hey, confidence and momentum. The other thing is, and I'm going back to the freshman quarterback. Okay, he's now put together back-to-back 2-minute drills that have been successful. He will continue that through his career. He'll get better and better at it.
How about Dane Kuntz as well? A perfect 4 for 4 on field goals, knocked through all his PATs as well, and we've talked, not on the Bobcast, but just in passing throughout the week, about he looks like he has made significant improvements. Of course, last season he started the season as the number 1 punter, lost that job to Sean Bliss. He takes over after Jeremy Harrison, who was the place kicker here, moved on. He has done a phenomenal job in the kicking game. He seems to be striking the ball a lot better and a lot cleaner looking kicks from him as this season has gone on, because a couple, I know he missed a PAT against Wheeling, but the last 3 games, perfect.
Yeah, Dane time.
Yes.
He's 18 for 18 or 20 for 20 on his last 20 kicks. Done a really good job. Dane Kuntz has been the best special teams player in this conference this spring. It is really hard to hit 20 straight kicks, and I'm hoping he's not listening to this because I don't want to jinx anything going forward. He has always been good for us on field goals and extra points, and we knew he would be good there. There were some things lacking when we started the spring with kickoffs. His father's a high school coach here in the state of Maryland, head high school coach, and does a nice job. But his dad and I talked after one of the games about him fixing kickoffs and doing better with his kickoffs. I don't know if Dad got in his ear or if our coaching got in his ear, but he's turned that around, and now everything's really high into the goal line, which gives kick return teams a problem. But then on Saturday, their kick returner is one of the better players, one of the better athletes in this conference, and our deal was, Dane, whichever side 19 goes to, just kick it the other way. And he's driving the ball across the field into the end zone, and he's driving the ball to the right into the end zone, just doing a really nice job of hitting his spots and executing a game plan. A weapon. That's the biggest compliment you can ever pay a special teams kicker and punter. Dane Kuntz is a weapon for us. Good football player, and he's a sophomore. He's going to get better too.
Their quarterback, Josh Jones, I mentioned him a second ago, and was very good at extending plays, and after a slow first quarter, got things going, kept his team in it. But the front 4, namely Zach Strand and Carl Igwe, they combined for 6 tackles for losses and a couple sacks. What was the challenge with trying to contain him and stop him from doing what he does best, move the ball downfield through the air? What kind of challenge did their quarterback present to your defense?
Josh Jones, the best quarterback in the conference. Him and the young man up at Notre Dame both do a really nice job of moving the football and scoring points when they have the football. But he did a nice job on Saturday. Here is the daunting task with Josh Jones at Pembroke is you need to be a nickel and dime. Your nickel and dime packages to beat them. You need to have as many DBs on the field as you can to beat them because they're so good at throwing the ball. And they're going to throw it 40 times. Come hell or high water, they're going to throw the football. Mm-hmm. But you need to have as many DBs on the field as possible. And when you do that, you have to take a D lineman or a linebacker or 2 off the field. When you do that, he finds the hole in the pass rush lanes and steps up and makes a throw. He only rushed for 30 or 40 yards on Saturday. But if he'd have wanted to, he could have rushed for 100, 120 yards on us and really give us a fit. Josh Jones at Pembroke's his feel for the pocket is so much better than the other quarterbacks in this conference. He's played a lot of quarterback, taken a lot of snaps. If you're rushing him around the edge, he steps up in the middle. If you're rushing him up the middle, he just breaks contain on the edges. He extends plays. And Matt, you know enough football to understand this. a good DB can cover a good receiver 3, 4, 5 seconds. And at that 5-second mark, if the receiver's any good and he's working hard, he's going to break loose. And Josh Jones will wait for his guys to break loose, and then he hits them down the field for big plays.
We talked earlier about Malik Morris and the special teams, but back-to-back games, again, he hadn't played since the end of the 2018 season, went 6 for 116 last week against AB, 3 catches for over 100 yards again. He has that big play ability. He gets down the field. There was one catch he made in double coverage where it was tapped up in the air and he stayed eyes locked on the football, still was able to make the catch. I believe that was on that drive at the end of the first half. But him and also Kyle Bielak, I know he was quiet a bit against AB. He caught 2 touchdowns in the Pembroke game. What were your thoughts on those two in the passing game?
Yeah, the two-headed monster. So Logan likes to call them the two-headed monster. Yeah, the two-headed monster. That they are as good as any wide receiver tandem in our conference and have an opportunity just to be a menace for anybody. They're a problem. They are a problem for anybody that we're playing this upcoming fall. They're both great football players. You have to not just call them good receivers because they both can block kicks. They both can make plays on special teams. Malik had 135 yards receiving and then blocked 2 punts, one of which he returns for a touchdown. Big game for him. He is as good a football player as there is in this conference, top to bottom, just football player. So Malik could start at tailback and rush for 100 yards. He could play DB and have 10 tackles and a couple interceptions. He can do a lot of things on the football field. But he is and I'm giving a lot of, how do you say this? I'm giving a lot of big accolades, okay? Malik Morris is the best special teams player to ever play at this university, and here's why. In his 4 seasons here, he's blocked over a dozen kicks. So, and when you block kicks in college football, the other team loses. When your team is getting the blocks and the other team is suffering from the blocks, they lose. It's just the way it is. But he is a good football player, and he is still knocking the rust off. So, because he hadn't played in a year and a half due to injuries, he's still knocking some rust off. Got to get him and Kyle and a couple of the other receivers to fix the drops. We can't have drops in games, and we dropped 5 wide open passes on Saturday. Graham's stats doesn't look as good as they should look. He's under 50% passing, but if we catch 4 out of the 5 balls he throws, then it doesn't look like that. But we've got to fix that going forward, and there's things to fix. But Kyle Bielak and Malik Morris, 2 good football players.
Things to fix, but of course this the end of your spring season, time to fix it with a fall season that really is just around the corner. It's less than 5 months away. So I would assume a kind of a difference in the approach with this time of year where you're typically in spring practice and eventually we'll start getting ready for the season come the summer. But what I guess it's new for you too, of course, having to play in the spring, but how do you approach this kind of scenario where you're wrapping up your season here in the middle of April and typically at the end of the season you'll have several months, about 8 or 9 months between games. Now you have about 4.5 months.
Yeah, just finished up the greatest spring in Frostburg football history.
Yep.
So they've never played a game in the spring, and not only did we play one, but we won 3 of them. So 3 out of 4, and winning 75% of your games matters. We have some momentum going into the fall. You're exactly right about everything being different. The turnaround, the turnaround we play another game in 130 days. So 120, maybe 128, 129 days, we have a game, and we're at Owensboro, Kentucky, playing Kentucky Wesleyan in Owensboro, Kentucky, and got a big game down there. But yeah, the turnaround is going to be really fast. I want to back up and say this about this football team. Maybe in 25 years of college football, my favorite group of guys that I've ever been around. And I'll get emotional talking about them, but because of everything they've been through and what they've had to do to get to play the game of football. Never in Frostburg history has a football team practiced 2-3 weeks in a row where it's 15 degrees. But the time we were allowed to get to field this spring was 8 p.m. because that fit our schedule. It fit the university schedule. At 8 o'clock here on a February night, it is absolutely brutal with the wind chill and the snow and the sleet and the hail. And 38 years of football, never practiced in the hail, but we did now. We have now. We've all done it now. But what they went through with COVID, our guys aren't allowed to lift inside. They lifted outside so we maxed out in January at 32 degrees. They got guys in the weight room, in the outdoor weight room, squatting 700 pounds at 32 degrees and working really hard and for each other. And I could say some other things, but just what they've went through with the testing, with the testing and the practicing outdoors and the lifting outdoors, and us having a one-day a trip to Notre Dame, just everything that they've been through and been put through. I really can't tell you how much I respect the young men that are in our football program, and there's 125 of them right now, and my hat's off to them as young men and as people, and as people that love football like I love football. Maybe the most fun and favorite team that I've ever been a part of. What they've accomplished is tremendous, and now we have to put it all away and move to the fall. We've got to get going on the fall, and what I'd like for our players to do is I'd like them to take 2 weeks off, because we've got 2 weeks until final exams start, but I'd like them to do no football and no weightlifting, and just kind of put it all away for 2 weeks while our staff gets everything ready for the summer and the fall and all that, and just kind of get rejuvenated and refreshed. And then our players will get to work in the weight room on lifting and running, and what they're eating and what they're drinking and how much they're sleeping for about 90 days, so that we can report to camp on or around August 9th and get ready to play Kentucky Wesleyan on September 2nd. Short turnaround. Really proud of what we've accomplished. Feel really lucky and fortunate to be in and around this group of young men.
Coach, great to see the team back out there this spring. Great season, 3 out of 4. You win here in this unique spring season, and like you said, right back at it in the fall in September. As always, thanks for joining us, Coach.
Hey, Matt, thanks for having me. Thanks for all you guys and all our SID department does. Go Bobcats.
Softball here on the Bobcast. Matt Ambrose sitting down with head coach Bill Vasko, coming off a 5-1 week for your team and your 6 games this past weekend. A sweep at home against Notre Dame and Glenville State, and then a split with Concord at Bobcat Field on Saturday. 6 more games for you this week. Road doubleheader on Wednesday at Fairmont, and then Wheeling and West Liberty come to town this weekend. Just want your overall thoughts on your team's performance from this past weekend.
Well, we're obviously very happy to be able to come away with a 5-1 record in conference play, and you don't typically play 3 days in a row, so that was a bit of a task for us to be able to come out 3 days in a row and keep the energy level up and go out and compete. And I thought our players did a really good job with that. The bat stayed hot this weekend. We hit the ball really well throughout the entire weekend. Had a lot of our upperclassmen, especially seniors, step up and had really good weekends. Got some good performances on the mound in pretty much every game. Defensively struggled a little bit in a few of the games. We've been focusing a lot on hitting in practice, just because that was an area more towards the beginning of the year that we were struggling a little bit, and our defense was doing really well. So I think, that's something we got to get back to this week to work on and fix a few things there. Despite, how we played defensively, it didn't really impact us too much because we hit the ball so well. But, we're really pleased with where we're at to be able to come away. We go out to try to win every single game, but, it's not always realistic for that to happen. But come away with 5 out of 6 in conference play and keep us in first place in the North Division right now, we're really happy about that. And, we'll get back to work and, tweak a few things to keep us moving forward. Even though, we're getting towards the end of the season, we want to keep improving so that we're playing our best ball towards the end. And, we've got nothing but conference play left rest of the year, and our goal is to keep pushing forward and to maintain that top overall spot. So we got to keep working to get better and be prepared to come out against some really good teams this week. So
it was a busy weekend for you guys as well. I mean, you had 8 games on the schedule before Wednesday's games were rained out, but playing 6 games in 3 days. And when you go into that, what's the approach really with I guess more so with your pitching staff, with Shauna Leonard and Sydney Thiebold, namely, because all the two of them pitched in all 3 games over the week, or 3 of the 6 games on the weekend. What kind of challenges present themselves when you have to play 3 straight doubleheaders over the weekend?
When you look going into that type of weekend, you know that you're going to have to rely on your entire staff and have some pitchers who maybe haven't been pitching quite as much to get some innings in and, take some pressure off of the other pitchers who've been getting a lot of innings. So we knew that going in. We just didn't know where those spots would be based upon how things turned out. The second game against Notre Dame was a little closer than what we would have liked. So it just kind of worked out in terms of on Saturday with how things were going that we were able to get some innings out of Emily Talbert and Sierra Sanderson. Sunday turned out that, Shauna did her thing again in Game 1, and Sydney pitched really well in Game 2, so we didn't really have to go to the bullpen. So it's, kind of have things set up with, continuing the rotation of who you normally go to, but understand that everybody's got to be ready to help out and chip in just based on how the games go. And you look for opportunities that, if you can get somebody else in to eat up some innings to help take the pressure off the staff, you do that. So, the bigger thing overall is just, the physical toll, and sometimes, it's just the little things that add up. I mean, obviously we're not a contact sport, but with the bumps and bruises and things that take place and your body doesn't get a chance to heal when you're playing 3 days in a row, that starts to add up. And then the mental fatigue of coming out every day and just being able to grind through 6 games in 3 days. It's hard to keep that energy level up throughout that entire time. And then, you add in senior day on Saturday as well. So there's just a lot of things going on. And, I know it was physically and mentally tough for the players. But, again, overall, to come away with 5 wins, we're really happy with that. And, it's the one thing we didn't really talk about this with the team, but the one thing I looked back on is when we get to conference tournament play, it's a 3-day affair, and it's going to be very similar to what we just went through. So being able to go through that now, I think, is going to help us down the road when we get to that environment. And we're not looking ahead to conference tournament, but it's good experience for us to go through what we went through this weekend moving forward.
You brought up the production that the seniors had this weekend. One of them I want to talk about is Aaliyah Ramey. Continues to swing the bat well, has found her power swing as well. 2 more home runs for her this weekend, up to 6 on the year, and hits in 9 of her last 17 at-bats as well. She seems like she's starting to hit her stride here late in the season.
Yeah, it's, I think she's going up to the plate with a good positive attitude, and she's expecting to hit the ball hard. And if she doesn't, she's coming away disappointed. She made an out, I think, yesterday, and I said something, and she's like, I'm at this point, I'm just expecting to get a hit. So when I don't, I'm, disappointed. So she's going up there in a good frame of mind, saying, the pitcher's not going to get her out. She's going to find a way, and she continues to do so. I mean, it's nice to get a little bit of power production, but, she's hitting a lot of balls hard all over the place right now. So seeing the ball well and just going up in a good frame of mind and working to get the job done. I think she wants to be in those situations right now where we need a hit and drive in some runs, and, that's really helped. I mean, that's been a focus of what we were missing a little bit at the beginning of the year, and to be able to step in and have a senior say, hey, I want the bat in my hand in these situations, and I'm going to go get it taken care of, and she's done that. So looking forward to seeing that continue.
She's definitely been doing that as of late. Really, the rest of your lineup has as well. 7 of your starters are batting over 300 on the season, and when you throw in Ryan Darling as well, who's gotten some increased playing time the last couple of games, she's over 300 as well at 314. How much of a weapon is that to have nearly 1 through 9 in your order, batters that can put bat to ball, put the ball in play?
It's huge. I mean, the big thing is, we felt like we were striking out too much at the beginning of the year, and now we're just putting the ball in play. And as more people do that, and it builds their confidence. The ball's not only going in play, it's going in play hard, which puts pressure on the defense, even if we're hitting it at someone to make the play. I mean, I think that, it's demoralizing to the other team when you just keep hitting the ball hard over and over. And, we saw that against Notre Dame on Friday that, we were hitting missiles right at them, but it was relentless, and you could see it from the other team that, it's like, why are they hitting the ball so hard so often? So, super excited about that. I mean, we just have to keep getting the barrel to the ball and hitting it hard, and good things will happen, whether it's, drops in for a hit, goes over the fence, or you hit it at someone. We just need to keep doing that over and over again. Because it's not only a physical thing, it's a mental thing for the opposing team, for the pitchers and the defense, when you keep hitting the ball hard and people keep getting on base and extending the inning. So, we'll keep doing that, and, it's nice to see some other people pick up. A couple of weeks we were sitting there like, hey, we need more people getting on base and hitting the ball hard and those kind of things. And now all of a sudden, you have a couple of big weekends in a row where you're hitting the ball hard, and it's like, man, look at all these people who are getting on base and doing that. And we just got to continue to do that. And if somebody's not having a good day, the other people got to pick it up and, do the job to help us out to get people on base and score some runs.
You had brought up Sierra Sanderson earlier with how she had to fill in and eat some innings out in the circle for you, but she's really been something at the plate lately as well. She's now leading your team in batting average at .356 on the season. A 5-for-7 doubleheader for her against Notre Dame with 3 RBI, and then 3-for-4 yesterday against Glenville State. What is she doing at the plate that's allowing her to have this recent success?
The one nice thing about Sierra is she's got a lot of diversity in what she can do at the plate, being a lefty slapper that, she can slap and position the ball to based on what the defense is giving her in terms of alignment. She can swing away when she needs to, and she can bunt. She had a big squeeze bunt against Notre Dame that ended up scoring 2 runs for us in a big spot. So it's just, her ability to get the ball in play. Didn't look real close at the numbers. I don't think she's striking out a lot right now, so she's getting the ball into play and just putting some pressure on the defense with her speed. And then when she gets on the base, she's a really great base runner. She's very instinctive and looking for opportunities. Like, she's taken some extra bases when the defense has allowed her to do that. So, just being able to switch it up based on what the defense has given us and what we need in a particular situation. She's stepped up big in those situations to help us out. So that's been huge.
I want to talk about Senior Day. You celebrated it on Saturday with your seniors, Emily Talbert, Kat Treff, Aaliyah Ramey, Sam Carver, and Taylor McCarty. What have those 5 meant to not only the success of the team this season, but just what they've meant to this program over their time here at Frostburg?
Well, especially, the 4 seniors who've been here all 4 years, they've been through a coaching change and a transition to Division II. And, we've talked a lot about, the leadership that they've provided through that. And then you throw in COVID and a pandemic last year and what we've had to face this year in terms of the challenges that's presented. They've done a great job not only stepping up and providing a good example to the underclassmen with work ethic and leadership, but just, going out there and believing in what we're doing. And they've continued to progress as players as well on the field to continue to get better. And, all of those challenges, it's easy to just be like, is it really worth to go through all this? But they've embraced that and continued to help uplift this program through the transition. So we're very appreciative of everything that they've done. And Emily's been here for 2 years and comes in with a great attitude every day to continue to do her thing and help the team in whatever way she can do as well. So, it was nice to be able, because we didn't get a chance to celebrate Senior Day last year with our lone senior, Claire Hanlon, which we were able to bring her in Friday and throw out the first pitch, which was, felt really good to be able to do that. But, just the seniors in general, what they've done this year to lead us through everything and position us to where, nobody expected us to be at this point right now. It's in large part to the example that they've set on and off the field as players and just people in general. It's, can't even put into words what that means, what they've done, and the legacy that they'll leave behind in helping this program move to the Division II level. So it's really great to have the opportunity to be able to celebrate them for a moment this year. And, we're about 75% of the way through the season, so we've got some big things that we still want to accomplish this year, and they're a big part of moving forward how we wrap this season up. So just looking forward to closing out the year really well and leaning on them to provide that leadership to finish it off.
And they certainly have provided it throughout this season. 6 more games for you this week, all within the division. 4 of those 6 games are against the 2 teams directly behind you in the standings, West Liberty and Fairmont State. So a very important week here coming up.
Yeah, so, every game from here on out till the end of the year is going to be big, just maintaining seeding for the conference tournament. But right now, we talked to the team yesterday. We have an off day today. We've got a day of practice tomorrow where we're going to try to clean up some things and just mentally get prepared for Fairmont. We didn't play very well against them last time, so I think we're going to come out fired up, ready to go, get the energy level up. And the way we've been playing since we last played Fairmont, I think we'll have a little bit of a different team out on the field. I think we were, excuse me, just weren't in a good position overall physically and mentally last time we played Fairmont. And, what we've accomplished since then, we're going to come out, I think, physically and mentally ready to go out and compete, and just really excited to go out there game 1 against Fairmont and just do our thing. And, at the end of the day, we'll see where we're at, and we'll just keep moving forward over these next couple weeks. And, I think if we continue to do what we've done and clean up the defense a little bit from this past weekend, we're going to be in really good position. So, but Wednesday's all that matters right now.
Well, Coach, great job. Congrats on a solid weekend with the 5 wins in 6 games, and best of luck to you heading into the games this week.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Track and field now here on the Bobcast. I welcome in head coach Shane Brookshire, coming off the Golden Eagle Invitational at Charleston on Saturday. You have competition later this week back in Buckhannon against West Virginia, or at West Virginia Wesleyan, I should say. That's your final meet before the MEC Championships. But before we look down the road, let's reflect a bit here for the 3 individual wins that you guys picked up this weekend. 2 for the men, 1 on the women's side. Just your overall takeaways from what you saw from the group as a whole.
Once again, just preparing for the conference championships. And for us, this meet at Charleston was the meet that was really going to show us where we stand in the conference in a lot of event areas. And Alyssa Mullery with that win in the triple jump, she's set herself up to be one of the top scorers at the conference meet. And so I think she's going to continue to do well in that event. And on the throw side, we held our ground. Now Charleston's got some great throwers, and so that's going to be a battle. When we get to that point at conference again, every time we've gone up against Charleston, it's been a battle. And on the sprint side, we saw a lot of great things, especially from our 4x4 at the very end of the meet. And so we knew that this weekend was going to be the one where we had to step up and show what we could do, and we certainly did that across several event areas.
As Mark Vaughns, Mike Belker, and you mentioned Alyssa Mullery. Vaughns in the pole vault, Belker in the discus, Mullery in the triple jump, the wins. for your teams on the day. What's allowing them to have this continued level of success as the season is wore on?
Their confidence level and just knowing that when they go into these meets, like they expect themselves to perform at a high level. And now with the pole vault field, there's 3 Frostburg athletes and 1 Wesleyan athlete, I believe. So it wasn't really a deep field, but Mark stepped up and hit huge PRs in the pole vault that day, and so that was great to see. That certainly moved him up a little bit in the conference rankings, and so that will be great to see how he handles that at the conference meet, because this is his first year doing pole vault. So he's one of those athletes that he feels like he can be great at everything he does, and you got to have that confidence factor going into events like the pole vault and the 400 hurdles as well. And plus we count on him for the 4x4 too. So he's kind of a jack of all trades at this point with our program. And so with Mullery, same thing, just having that confidence level that she's going to do well. And now she got tripped up by another athlete in the hurdles, and so I think that was going to be another event win for her, before another athlete clipped her hurdle and caused her to fall, and so that was unfortunate there. But she bounced back really well in the triple jump and to win the triple, and so just being confident, knowing that she's going to perform at a high level, that she's expected to be one of the top athletes in that event. She comes prepared to cement that place every time.
Someone who is continuing, it seems like week after week, to perform well has been Hannah Muir, one of the younger runners on the women's side. A new PR in the 5K for her, a 19:47.72 for Hannah. And again, it just looks like she just continues to get better and better with the work she's putting in.
Yeah, she's stepped up again. At first, she was in the slow heat for the 5K, and when I got there, I talked to Charleston coach about possibly moving her into the faster heat because she was right at that cutoff, and I know she can run quicker. I know she can run quicker than 19:47, but she's never really been into a competitive 5K race before, and so fortunately, the coach allowed her to move into the fast heat, and it was great for her because I feel like she learned a lot in that race because the winners were low 18s, and she's going up against some of the top women in the conference for that 5K, and it's got a lot of depth. And she opened up the first mile just a few seconds away from her high school mile PR, and actually PR'd in the 2 mile en route to the 5K. And I think it's about she PR'd the last time she ran the 5K too, with the 2 miles. So I think she PR'd by about 14 seconds in the 2 mile going through. And it's great to see her having this kind of success because we don't have a strong women's distance program. We only have a few athletes out there right now, but she's setting herself up to be the leader of the team next year when we do have 10 women on the cross-country distance side. And after the meet, she was telling me that she wants to go 18s and 17s in the future. So that's going to put her as one of the top athletes ever at Frostburg if she can go low 18s and into the 17s. So she's confident when she runs, and having great success off of the low mileage right now.
Back to the men's side, and another standout from Nicholas Richardson, who put in 2 top 5s in some shorter distance events, 4th in the 100 and 5th in the 200. What did you see from him and how he performed?
Nick always steps up and competes, and we saw that at the conference meet last year for indoor when once he had the lead in the 4x4, he just took off and opened up a huge gap. And once again he ran, I believe, his second best 200 time ever, so just a few hundredths of a second away from his PR in that. And I had a strong showing in the 100 as well. And but the 4x4, he was down about 20-25 meters going into the final leg, and when he got the baton, and he closed that gap at roughly around 200, 220 meters in. And, I mean, he fought all the way to the end. Like, had a great split on the 4x4. And like I said, he's a competitor every time he goes out. Like, he does not like to lose. And you can see it in the way that he runs. And so he's set up well for a strong conference meet. Like, did great last year, getting third in the 60 in indoor and helping our 4x4 get second. And this year, like, he's right now currently ranked number 1 in the 100, number 1 in the 400, and he's helped our 4x4 to a number 2 conference ranking as well.
Quickly back on the women's side as well, and in the throws, some good finishes from Alexa Bradburn in particular, second in the hammer and third in the discus, and kind of showing how well-rounded this team is starting to look on the women's side when you have runners like Muir and Mulry that we've talked about, and then Bradburn doing or performing the way she has been in the field events.
Yeah, Alexa, she's another one like Hannah that has we don't have a lot of depth on the women's throw side, and so she's kind of been carrying that, like especially like this whole year she's been the only female thrower until just recently, and she's shown great progress in the hammer. This is her first season competing in the hammer. Like, she did weight and indoor, and then discus was her event in high school, and this weekend she just hit a massive PR in the discus, like through 120 feet, and so I know she's really excited about that. And she's going to be the leader on the women's throw side like next year. Like, she's going to be the one that everybody's looking towards, like, for guidance at these meets. And so I mean, she's definitely come a long way, and it's going to be exciting to see what she does at conference, because it seems like every time she goes out there and competes, she's getting better and better. And pretty soon, she's going to see some even bigger throws, and it won't be long before she's getting close to the school record in the discus either.
So, as I mentioned before, one meet before the MEC Championships the following weekend. This weekend, you're back at West Virginia Wesleyan. What's the approach going into this final regular season meet?
It'll be more of a final tune-up for a lot of the athletes, and for several of our athletes, though, this is going to be their last chance to get into the conference meet. So we got to be top 16 in pretty much every event, in order to get in. And there's a few athletes that are on the bubble, especially on the distance side. So a couple of our steeplers are just outside, sitting in 17th and 18th right now. And if they take off about 10 seconds and nobody else improves, then they'll get into the conference meet. And Braxton Clark, he's sitting 18th right now in the 5K, and it's a competitive 5K. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to run this past weekend at the big race for it. But he'll have to try and go sub 15:30, 15:20 this weekend in order to get in for the 5K. I think he's pretty secure in the 10K right now. And I mean, Devin, horseman guy, he's sitting about 20th or so in the 1500, and he's got to shave off a little bit of time there in order to get in. So this is really going to be more so about, like I said, final tune-ups for athletes that are secure with getting in, and then for those that are on the bubble, this is a meet where they got to step it up and show that they deserve to run at the conference championship.
Well, Coach, best of luck to you as you head into this final regular season meet at Wesleyan, and as always, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Next up here on the Bobcast, we're talking field hockey with head coach Kaitlin Thompson, coming off a 5-2 win this past weekend at home over Mercyhurst. Your final game of this spring coming up this Saturday, taking on Washington College at Bobcat Stadium. First game in a couple of weeks for you guys. First home game since the season opener all the way back on March 6th. Just how good did it feel to get back out there at Bobcat Stadium, play a home game?
Yeah, no, it was awesome, especially, after being on pause for a little bit. It was nice to, come back and play at home, especially now, because the last time we played at home, stands were super limited. So this time, our girls' friends and family could be at the game. So it was just nice to be back and have that good home game energy.
First win for the spring as well for your team, getting that 5-2 win. How did it feel to finally check that off the list here this season?
Yeah, it felt great. I think this entire spring we've been just steadily getting better and better and better. Again, we have 12 new girls on the team, so it's been nice to just see them all starting to really connect and understand what it is to be playing Frostburg field hockey, our formation, our style of play, all of that kind of stuff. So, as the spring has gone on, we've just gotten better and better and gelled more and more. And obviously, it shows on the scoreboard. So that was something great to be able to see.
Two players who really showed out, both scoring 2 goals, Heidi Van Dyke and Brooke Lafayette, both finding the back of the cage twice on the game. What did you see from the two of them in that one?
Yeah, I mean, Heidi's just somebody who's just been a workhorse for us from the moment she stepped on the field. For us this spring, she's really just always working hard, so fast. She, is one of the ones that has passed our run test, so she's just takes care of those things that you as an athlete should be taking care of. And, in practice all the time, she's just getting goal after goal after goal. So it was only a matter of time until it was going to show up on a game day. And I was so happy to, see her do that. Something we've really been working on over the past couple weeks is just taking nice quick shots and not having the big swing or anything like that. And both of Heidi's goals were just one-time shots right in front of the cage. So that was also great to see, is just that, that practice paying off. And then as far as Brooke, I had a feeling she was going to score this game. I just knew it, like, the week leading up to the game. I was like, Brooke's going to score. I know it. And she scored twice. So she's just been doing so well on the post at corners during practices. And I just knew she was going to score, and she sure did twice. So
and her fellow senior, Sam Coffey, also had a good game. She's very active on the offense when she had the ball on her stick. 5 shots, 4 of them are on target, but did a nice job kind of generating chances for your team. What did you see from her offensively on Saturday?
Yeah, Coffee does a great job of just, again, another one that just works super hard on and off the ball all the time. Again, her fitness is fantastic, so she's able to play at a high level for the entire game. And yeah, she's just one that just generates plays. And even though, she didn't show up on the score sheet this time, she definitely created a lot of opportunities for us, kept the ball in our attacking end when Mercyhurst was trying to outlet. So those things that, again, don't show up on a score sheet are super important to winning the game. So she definitely contributed really well during that game.
You had Madison Manalanson in net for you guys. 5 saves on the day for her in earning the victory. What's helped her have the success that she's had this season?
Yeah, she is doing a great job. Again, past couple practices, she's just really been on fire and, having a lot of confidence. And that's going to be her, what she needs to make sure she keeps up, is that confidence. She has all the talent in the world. She's such a talented field hockey player. She just has to make sure she keeps her confidence level up, and it's something that she's definitely worked on and improved on. So it's just exciting to see moving forward how that confidence on and off the field is helping her grow.
This has obviously been like a kind of a different season for everybody. Of course, you guys typically be playing in the fall and playing kind of an abbreviated season here, but you're heading into your final game. But before we get to that, when you kind of reflect back on what the season has been so far, what's impressed you the most about what your team has been able to do out on the field this season?
I just think that steady improvement that I talked about before. Again, I just think our girls have done a great job of really reflecting back on games, seeing what the issues that we had were, and then really, really working hard on them in practice and then showing that improvement in the next game. And again, same thing with the game after game. That's something that they've really done well, and it's why we've progressed the way we have, because they do a great job of just reflecting on what they did well, what they needed to fix, and looking at it on film, making sure that in practice they're like, oh, this is what went wrong in the game, but now this is how I fix it in practice, and then moving forward. So just that reflection and really working on it and holding themselves accountable to improving has been just really great to see.
Final game of the spring, again, as I said before, on Saturday here at home, hosting Washington College. What can we expect to see from this team as they wrap up this spring season?
Just going to go out and keep playing our game, keep being intense. Just because we don't have a quote-unquote chip on our shoulder for this game doesn't mean that we can't come out and play the way that we played today. So we just have to make sure that we're really holding ourselves to that high standard. Even though we got that win in and everything like that, we still have to be hungry to get every single win and just end on a strong note. At the and in the halftime of the game on Saturday, I just said, like, listen, we have a game and a half to be this team. We're never going to be this team ever again. So just put it all out there and make sure that we're playing to our very best for the amount of time that we have with this team. So.
Well, Coach, congrats on the win this past Saturday, and best of luck as you head into the final game of the spring. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Next up here on the Bobcast, we have men's soccer head coach Keith Byrnes as your team wrapped up its season on Friday night, falling to West Lib at home to finish off your season. Before we get into kind of the season as a whole, just want your thoughts from Friday night's game.
Well, we kind of used it a little bit as an evaluation tool, knowing that we were eliminated from the playoffs, so we let our number 2 and number 3 string keepers get some minutes. So from that standpoint, at least we got to see them in game action, which they normally don't get. And I thought, first half, I think that we outshot somebody for the first time in a while, so I thought we were actually doing some pretty good things. And it's always tricky when you play the backup keepers, because if you give up a goal that they think maybe the starter could have got, then all of a sudden it kind of changes the mentality a little bit. And I kind of felt like that's what happened. I think if they were thinking if Joel was in the game, would we have not given up maybe the first or the second and still been in it? But we didn't. And, there were some goals scored, and we just had to play through it. But, I think after that, then the intensity kind of drops a little bit. And they know it's the end of the year, and they know we're kind of not playing our top lineup if Joel's not in. So, just sometimes the game just kind of gets away from you. But I think those guys, one, deserved it, and two, it's hard to get an evaluation on them unless it's not a true game atmosphere where they got to make in-time decisions. So, we thought it was productive from that standpoint.
As you said, you had a lot of possession in that first half, getting some chances as the game or as the first 45 minutes went on. But West Lib striking with a goal just a few minutes before halftime. So you go into the locker room down 1-0, come out, and then a little over a minute into that second half, they strike again to make it 2-0. Did that kind of change the mindset or the momentum maybe that you guys wanted to have coming out of the locker room after conceding that early second half goal?
I'm sure it did. I mean, you never want to give up a goal in the first 5 minutes or the last 5 minutes, and we did both those things. So, I think that once that goal goes in, you're like, kind of here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're down 2, and then you don't really get things rolling. And if we could have gotten off to a better start, maybe we would have been in it from the beginning. But giving up that early goal just kind of, I think, took the mental edge out of it, and we didn't quite have the fighting spirit we needed to kind of finish out the game.
So your season wraps up a 2-6 record for you for this spring season. When you kind of reflect back on the season as a whole, what kind of comes to mind first for you?
A disappointment. One, we disappointed for the guys that we couldn't give them, almost a fair shake. It felt like at times because we just didn't have the bodies to really do a lot of things or keep people healthy and give people breaks. And I think they were pretty worn down. It was a tough season. More numbers certainly would have helped, but just from the difference of training, basically 5 days a week sometimes, and then playing instead of playing, every 2 to 3 days on a normal season. Getting up early for lifting and COVID testing, and it was a different whole environment for them. And I think a lot of these college guys don't always like getting up early, and that was an adjustment for them. And I just think it wore on them. And then if you're not winning, it wears on you a little bit more. But the bottom line is we were out on the field. We got to play. A lot of people still didn't get to do that. We got a lot of guys minutes, because we had to. And, we've got a good barometer of all the things we need to improve on going into the fall season, which isn't too far off. So, hopefully it's a good learning tool.
I want to get to some of those newcomers or those guys who will be returning come the fall. But before that, you honored Will McComber before the game, the final home game of the season for you guys. But what has Will meant to this team during his time with the Bobcats?
Will's just a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
He's done everything right from the first day he stepped on campus. So, he became a captain just because, people trust him, people believe in him. You couldn't ask for another kid that probably put the team first more than him. And he always fought. He always, wasn't always the most technical player out there, but he fought for his playing time, fought to improve, and just, gave it all he had. I mean, and this semester was tough. He could have easily packed it in and been like, I'm graduating, I'm getting out of here. Why put myself through this? But he wanted to see it out on the field. He wanted to be there with his teammates. He wanted to try to lead them. And, so we'll miss what he had, and hopefully he instilled some of his qualities into the younger guys, and they can kind of see what we need going forward.
Some of the newcomers this season, guys like Vaughn Phillips, Daniel Juresic, just to name a couple, we saw some positive play from. When you look at what is promising about this team, I should also mention Tamino Brown, of course, was here last year, taking another step this in his sophomore season. What, with the field players, excited you in terms of how their game can grow as they continue to play on here at Frostburg?
I think just that potential is the exciting part. I don't think anybody stood out necessarily as far as having an all-conference caliber season or a lot of goal production. I mean, but we saw them grind in and day out. Some guys were brilliant in practice, and now we're just hoping they translate that a little bit more into the game scenarios. And it's just sometimes a little bit tougher to get those shots off in games, but in practices when we're doing it, everything's hitting the back of the net. And so I think the core that's coming back, they just got to remember that this was kind of an odd year, and then when we're back to a fully manned roster and a normal routine again, and a little bit back to normalcy, hopefully, I think things will just run a little bit differently come this fall.
Yeah, definitely, because when you think about how the 2019 season went, you guys were right in the hunt for a spot in the MEC tournament down to the end of that regular season. So hopefully, once we get to the fall, like you said, hopefully things are far more normal than they are, or they have been for the last several months, better part of the year. In goal as well, we saw Parker Sugars play a lot. We saw Joel Assaul, of course. What's your evaluation of how your keepers were able to do this past season?
I mean, Joel has a pretty high standard,
Yeah.
From his first year here. Now, we kind of forget he was in a car accident in the spring semester that he was still recovering from when he got here in the fall. So he was kind of working through that. I think by the spring he was kind of over that, and then he picked up an ankle injury, which had him out in the beginning. Then he had an elbow injury, which had him out for the games at the end. So I think he just needs to get his health back and then just focus on, where he wants his game to go for what could be his last year. Maybe he sticks around for that 5th year. But he's got a very high ceiling if he puts the dedication and the work ethic in the off season and to being better than what he is, which is, a very, very solid keeper. And then Parker, I think he's still growing, still has to get some consistency and confidence. I think a lot of it just comes down to confidence in himself and knowing the team believes in him. Because we've seen him do things, again, on the practice field, but now consistently in a game, he's got to make some saves that keep us in it, and not just the ones he's supposed to make. And I think that's what you're hoping from your starting keeper.
So this is the unique scenario that these typically fall sports that played this spring are in, where you're wrapping up your season here the later part of April, and in less than 5 months, you're starting your typical fall season at the beginning of September. What goes into the next several months in preparation for that fall 2021 season?
Well, a little bit of rest and recovery to start, just from how kind of dragged on the season kind of got. And then it's maintaining fitness levels and coming in probably even a little bit more fit for the preseason camp, because, it's although we can say it was long and hard, but it's kind of nice when you have a whole week to train and prepare for a game, as opposed to being in a scenario where everything feels like pre- and post-game practices with not a lot of time in between. So, when we got to get up and running, it's like, let's come in ready to go, and we don't want to be spending preseason on getting fit. We need to be fit when we get there, so we can really just start tweaking all the things that we want to change from what we saw, this past semester here.
Well, Coach, thanks for joining us on the Bobcast. Though this season may not have been exactly what you wanted, there's definitely some potential and some growth that we could see with this team heading into the fall. So, as always, thanks for joining us here.
All right, thanks a lot.
We welcome in tennis now to this week's Bobcast, and joined by head coach Jeff Splinter, talking about another week with your team. This past week, Millersville and Cal U of PA on the docket. The men falling to Millersville on Sunday. The women to 2 matches, just the women playing at Cal U PA on Friday, and then losing to Millersville as well. Over the weekend, West Virginia Wesleyan and Shepherd, as well as St. Mary's, on tap this week for your team. Just want some overall thoughts on what your impressions were of this past week for your team.
Yeah, the women played Cal U on Friday, and we came out of the match and we played some really good doubles, and felt really confident going into singles. Cal U is a tough team to play against. They have a lot of different styles on the team, where a lot of slicers, a lot of girls that are using backspin instead of the normal topspin that you kind of see on a daily basis. So it was a good mix-up for the women, and a good way to see some different style of tennis, which caught us a little off guard. We did start playing some better tennis towards the end of the second sets in singles, but overall, just a tough day for the women. I love the way they bounced back in practice on Saturday. Just completely got refocused playing for Millersville. We knew Millersville was our first match that we played as a Division II program last year in the fall. So it was a good barometer to kind of see where we're at now, how we've done, over the past year and a half. So, really proud of the effort we gave on Sunday against Millersville with the men and the women. And it felt like we really played some of our best tennis despite losing, 7-0 on each side. A lot more competitive matches than the first time around.
I just want to look at how the women did in that match against Cal U on Friday. Jen Dieterle picking up the win in her singles match, 6-1, 6-3. And Robbie Ladon and Elizabeth Hickson also getting a win in doubles. And she'll also add in that Hickson performed well in her singles match as well. What did you see from those players in particular, and how they were able to perform?
Yeah, Jen is becoming, quite the popular name here on the Bobcast. She's doing a great job at 6 singles. She's going in and she's just giving herself a chance to win every match. You know, she doesn't make many errors. She loves just getting the ball back in play and playing out long points. So you know, she's really developed a good mental capacity to not be swayed by one point or another. You know, a good shot by the opponent, you know, she just digs in and just plays the next point. And she's been really positive and keeping a good frame of mind. You know, it's not easy not playing doubles and then having to go warm up and play a singles match right after. But she's done an incredible job, you know, managing that and, really picked up a lot of wins, you know, in these tough matchups where, you know, she did get that win, you know, against Davis and Elkins. You know, that was the match clinching win. She got the win against Cal U. She's done a great job all season long competing against the 6 singles players. And then, you know, with Robbie and Betsy, we've been very impressed with their energy in doubles. You know, they come out and they are super aggressive. They are loud, borderline obnoxious, but they're flying around the courts. They love easy volleys. You know, they're the team that, you know, puts away anything that they can reach at the net, which is awesome. They do a great job setting each other up and, you know, really kind of setting the pace for all the doubles teams. You know, I think their energy feeds into the 1 and 3 doubles team where they can kind of react to how much energy they're bringing on a daily basis.
Shea Prywazerski also, she's been someone who's performed well throughout this season. Had a good battle in her singles match. She fell 6-4, 7-5, but really took her opponent to the brink in that match.
Yeah, she's been going through a couple of things in practice, and you know, I think she has a great game plan of how she wants to attack each point, which leads her to really focus on her serve. She's got a phenomenal serve for women's tennis. Which is why she plays 1 doubles. You know, she's tall, she puts a lot of balls away, and in singles she kind of has that same mindset of, you know, how can I get to the net and set myself up the best. We've really been working a lot on her approach shots and, you know, finding ways for her to get to the net as quickly as possible in singles too.
Let's take a look at how the men did in their match against Millersville on Sunday. Ben Williams getting some games in his number 5 singles match. What did you see from how he performed?
Yeah, just really impressive from the guys overall at Millersville. We are down one player, Origin, who's a number 1 player. He has been out with a back injury, so, you know, for all of the guys to step up and play a position that they're not normally playing, a big kudos to the entire men's team. You know, Ben and Ethan have kind of been splitting time at 6 singles, and for Ben and Ethan to come out and play some very consistent tennis, some of the best tennis, honestly, they've played in the entire season. You know, the entire men's team was rallying around Ben. He was in such a competitive match. It was a really fun atmosphere to be around where, you know, both teams, I think it was senior day for Millersville, and I think he was playing one of their seniors, and, you know, they really wanted him to win. And we had our entire team cheering for Ben. So it was an electric atmosphere, and I loved seeing Ben playing, you know, the tennis that he's capable of.
You're pretty deep into your season now as we hit the middle and the latter part of April here. What has stood out to you, really, for both your teams that you coach? What has stood out to you as an area in which your team has really excelled in so far this season?
Yeah, I think looking back at the match at Millersville, another tough team that we played against, I was very impressed with how we're growing mentally. It can be tough to lose a lot of these matches 7-0, but we are finding things that we are doing, and we're doing them well. So we might not win every point, but we are growing in our games. We're growing in our plan of attack, and you know, I can see a more consistent game plan throughout all 6 courts than I have at the start of the season. So, you know, each men and women on the team they have a great picture of how they want to play each point, and you know, they're playing it win or lose, which, you know, can be tough. You know, if we're going to be losing points, you know, obviously we want to win everything. So it's great seeing us playing how we want to, winning and losing, as opposed to just winning points.
Busy week for you coming up. A couple road matches at West Virginia Wesleyan on Tuesday, and then Shepherd on Friday before you turn around and host St. Mary's on Saturday. What goes into the preparation for this week?
Yeah, it's a lot, especially with the match yesterday as well. So our women have today off, much needed, and we'll rest and play tomorrow. It's going to be a battle. West Virginia Wesleyan had a 4-3 match against Davis and Elkins as well, so we're anticipating another 4-3, 5-2 thriller kind of a match. So, we're looking for our women to come out of the gate playing good doubles, and with Wesleyan on Tuesday and then Fairmont next Tuesday, the 4, 5, and 6 seed are all up for grabs, and our women are going to fight for everything that we can on the court. So. Should be a good one for the women on Tuesday. And then, our men, West Virginia Wesleyan was the conference champion last year or 2 years ago. And, it's a great test to kind of see where we're at and, where we need to be to make the playoffs for next year. So, we attack a lot of our matches in that mentality of, we're young, we're growing, we know we're just getting better and better. So these 3 matches this week with Wesleyan, Shepherd, and St. Mary's all give us a great chance to go out, play competitive tennis, and really play winning tennis. And they should be 3 fairly competitive matches throughout the week. So it'll be mentally taxing and exhausting, but we're excited to go out there and prove what we're capable of.
Well, I'm excited to watch and see how your team will fare this week. Coach Jeff Splinter, thanks so much for joining us.
Great, thank you.
Next up here on the Bobcast, we're talking women's lacrosse with head coach Taylor Sindall coming off a 1-1 week for your team, a 21-11 victory earlier in the week against Alderson Broaddus before falling on the road to Charleston in a close game, 17-15, the final score in that one. 2 games this week to wrap up the regular season, home against West Virginia Wesleyan and then on the road at Davis and Elkins on Sunday. So just your overall thoughts from the past week of games and how your team performed.
Not well. I think this week we really, you talk about ups and downs in the season. This was definitely a down week for us. Even in the AB game, yeah, we won by 10, but, we definitely did not play our game. And then that just carried over to the Charleston game. We were missing some key players as well, but, got to find a way to bounce back and, take it to these next 2 teams and have some good vibes going into the conference tournament.
Standout from the AB game was Cammie Schneidwin. 7 goals for her in that game. First time that a Bobcat has done that since 2015. And I know we talked either 1 or 2 Bobcasts ago about her development and that, she's a sophomore, but she only had a few games in that abbreviated first season last year. How have you seen her game continue to grow here in 2021?
Like I've said before, she's just a different kind of player. I think, but she's definitely worked on her speed, her agility, her stick work, trying different shots, different moves. And she struggled a little bit in the first half against AB with getting her shots to fall. And I said, you know what? You got all the bad shots out in the first half. I guarantee you every shot you take in the second half is going to go in. And all 6 of her shots went in the second half. I was trying to get her to 9, trying to tie the record, but we ran out of time there. But missing her on Saturday really, really took a toll on us, especially after such a big game like that. But excited to have her back this week and hopefully the rest of the season.
Another good game in that AB game from Anna Kearney, who has been someone that is in her first season has performed well. And another thing we've talked about is how this was a theme last year before you came over here to Frostburg was the youth on this team able to have immediate impacts. Anna Kearney, one of those players, 5 goals, 1 assist, 2 ground balls, a caused turnover, and 5 draw controls in that game. What allows her to be able to play so well game in and game out?
The players around her, we really, I don't want to say shape our offense in a certain way, but the way that some of our offensive sets are planned out, it really allows her to shine. And we really do love to feed on this team. Sometimes I want the girls to be a little bit more selfish and just go to the goal, but I think it fits perfectly with who she is as a player. And it was her birthday on Wednesday, so I think that gave her a little extra motivation.
Let's look at the Charleston game, and I know it didn't go the way you wanted it to. You were leading at halftime, but Charleston outscored you 9-3 in that second half. What kind of changed in the second half of that game that allowed the Golden Eagles to pull away?
We just couldn't win a draw control. We really, really struggled on the draw. I think having Aaron Bryce out, who I believe is third on our team right now and has missed quite a few games, but she always does a good job for us on the circle, and I think we didn't have the ball for, I would say, the first 12 minutes of that second half, and that really killed us. I mean, our defense was playing great, but unfortunately we just couldn't make the saves we needed to make, and then we would go back to the draw circle, have an opportunity, and just not win the ball. So really, really struggled with the draw that second half.
Summer Cavey coming off a week in which she was named MEC Player of the Week. Despite the loss, she did play well, had 4 goals and an assist in that game, 4 ground balls as well, and kind of what her game is and what she specializes in is being a versatile player, someone who can help out in multiple areas. What does she bring to the table in your eyes, and how does she contribute to this team's success?
She's just such a workhorse. She's one of those kids, I've said it before, you tell her, jump, and she says how high, and she exceeds your expectations. It just was unfortunate on Saturday. Everyone wanted to win and was putting in a lot of effort, but we just couldn't put it all together as a team. But, she was unstoppable on the offensive end on Saturday. We just unfortunately didn't have the ball, but, I know she's coming back with a vengeance, and she's going to be ready to take it to these next 2 teams this week. So.
The goalkeepers, McKenna Shea got the start in the Charleston game on Saturday. Her first start since March 27th, and the first time she's seen game action since you guys played West Virginia Wesleyan the first time around on the 31st. What went into the decision to play McKenna, and what did you see from her, as well as Whitney Crosby, who went in and played later on in that game?
I've always said these goalies are really almost neck and neck.
Yeah.
Whitney suffered an injury in the AB game, and so we felt confident in McKenna, and unfortunately, she just wasn't making saves, and we got Whitney warmed up, and that really wasn't going our way either, and we put McKenna back in, and she really did start to shine once we put her back in that second half, but unfortunately it was just a little too late.
So you're in a position now, you're now second place behind Notre Dame in the conference standings right now, and 2 games here to finish up your regular season. You have a home game against West Virginia Wesleyan on Thursday afternoon. You wrap things up against Davis and Elkins on Sunday to finish off this regular season. What goes into kind of putting this Charleston loss in the rear view and bouncing back and having a strong week to cap off the regular season?
I think we learned this week that we can't take any team lightly, and that every single team that we play is going to give us their best game. And credit to AB and Charleston, they both played very, very well. So I think we just need to refocus and focus on us and not look too far ahead. We got a 2-hour practice coming up tomorrow, lots of film to watch, but I think West Virginia Wesleyan is going to be, a game where we really see, okay, are we able to bounce back from, that lull of this past week, or do we have some more work to put in? So fingers crossed these girls come ready to go.
Coach, best of luck to you wrapping up your regular season this week with these 2 games, and as always, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.